basketball in the States, or maybe kids go to college over to prep school or whatever?
Well, any Mickey Ward stories. Restaurants in New York City you want to know to go to.
And if you've anything that you saw there that you weren't quite sure of, the guys they can demonstrate it again up here for you. I'll just run through it again. So feel free, just shout if anyone's got a question. Don't leave me hanging here. Anyone?
Just to let you know, we practice for 2 hours. I use the clock at every practice. The manager operates the clock. Most of the drills, there's competition in the drill. One team versus the other, or score that they have to reach. And then we do that thing I said, everybody has to shoot free throws. And then we go on to the next drill. But we don't run a lot of sprints. Like at the end of practice, we don't run because we try to do that during the practice. And we shoot free throws at the end. And as the season goes on, the practice gets shorter. It's 2 hours in the beginning of the year. By the end of the year, it might be an hour and 15 minutes before the state championship. It's just as hard, but it's shorter. And a lot of those days, a scouting report. We're very big on scouting. I think I see everybody play twice live. My assistant coach films. He likes to film, so he'll film a couple of games, and he watches them over and over. I like to go, I'm really old school. I like to sit there and watch a team warm up. I like to watch the bench. I'm always watching to see how the players and the coach get along during the game. Last year in the state tournament, we're getting ready for a very talented opponent. And when a coach would take the player out, the player would go to the end of the bench, and they would look like they were having words, not like as equals. And then the coach would go down and have his back to the court and be talking to the kid. And then ultimately, the two of them came back to the end of the bench. So we said to our guys, we're going to pick up 8 or 10 points during the game while that guy is doing what he's doing over there. We're not wasting all that time. You know, if I take somebody out, he sits right next to me. And I know that everybody looks at the substitute. So I wait a little bit until the game starts again. And then if I have to really talk to him, I'll talk to him. But I won't do it right away. Because I know everybody always, including their parents, always watch the bench a little bit. And then you start watching the game again. That's when I start talking to the guy, if I really am annoyed at what he's doing. And if you played for me, I sub a lot. I play a lot of kids. The older you are, the less you get subbed. The younger you are, the more you get yo-yo. You're in and out all the time. Every mistake, if you're a player, you're probably out of the game. All the kids, I let them, play through mistakes.
How much time in practice do you give to scrimmaging?
Scrimmaging, it's under 10 minutes a day. Yeah, I grew up in a culture growing up of you warmed up, you shot a little bit, you had a fast break, maybe some fast break drills, you ran your offense, and you scrimmaged. And we don't scrimmage, but we do stuff like, Coach Knight from the United States said the most important thing is defensive conversion. So we work every day at when shots go up, getting our team back, and then we work on that every day, which you have to do with 5. You have to do that 5 on 5. And then we work other things we do every day that are more important than scrimmaging is press offense every day. Nobody presses us. We practice our press offense every day. Even that thing we were doing today, that 5-on-0, that becomes just one of our press offenses where we're practicing the 2 guys run to half court, the big kid stays in the middle, the guard goes middle, and we use that as a press offense. And we rehearse it every day. The other thing we do every single day, and we did a little bit begin today, is we box out every day, every single day. The coach at Michigan State, Tom Izzo, is one of the best coaches in the United States. They box out. They work on out-rebounding their opponent in every game. And for the last couple of years, we have, in the United States, we've out-rebounded everyone we've played against by a large margin. And we haven't necessarily been the taller team, but we really work. Because I think if your team gets back on defense, if your team doesn't give up any second shots because you block out, and if the other team can't press you, then the only thing that's left is, can guys get by you off the dribble? So you want to spend a lot of time in defensive stance, concentrating on being able to keep the player in front of his man. So, if I'm guarding the player right in front of me here, that player, come in a second, let me just get you for a second. If I'm guarding, right, we want to work on this every day. If this guy's got the ball and he's handling, my head has to be below his shoulders. My eyes have to be here. I have to know the scouting report. I have to know how quick I am, how quick he is, and I'm always this far away. The tip of my fingers, I should be able to touch his shirt, and then 6 inches. That's how far away I guard. The ball is going to be someplace in here. Every once in a while it's going to be exposed and I can play against it. But I'm this far away. And then the scouting report. If his left hand is not as good as his right, then we're making him use his left hand. The kid, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, was the second player in the NBA draft. We played against him 2 years ago for the New Jersey Championship. They were the #1 team in the country. They were the #1 team in the country, and he was the #1 or 2 player in the country, and we held him to 7 points. Because when we did our scouting report on him and we watched him, he wasn't a great outside shooter, and he didn't like to go to his left. So because he was not a great outside shooter, and he didn't like to go to his left, this is the way we played in the ball game. We just played this shoulder, played this shoulder with this foot up, so he could recover, and we found out when he would go left, he would take 2 dribbles, not be comfortable going any further, and then he would turn around and go back right. So when he went left, we just jumped him all the time. So I think the biggest thing is when you teach the kids to do, when you're teaching the kids to do stuff, is scouting report is unbelievably important. And if you can do some preparation on the best players, and if you take the best player from the other team out of his comfort zone, then you can have great control of the team. If I gave you these names, this is my favorite thing for scouting report. Andrew Bynum, who's a center for the Lakers, and Chris Humphries, who married Kim Kardashian. That's his claim to fame. All right. Tyreek Evans was the Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago. Jameer Nelson from the Magic was an NBA All-Star 2 years ago. Kobe Bryant, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, the 2nd pick in the draft, and this year's 4th pick in the draft, Dion Waiters, all played against us in high school. None of them ever beat us. Beat Kobe twice, beat Andrew Bynum twice, and whatever their scoring average was, never would get it against us because we would focus on guarding them, taking away what they like to do, and then bringing the guys to help. We bring help defense. Like the kid Gilchrist, for example. Gilchrist likes to take the ball as a basketball player. He's very talented, so he'd get a rebound. He'd bring the ball up, and the guards would never bring the ball up. They just run ahead of him. So we watched them play, and we said, he can't do that against us. He can't get a rebound and bring it up and start a fast break because we're going to make him go left. And we watched that left-handed dribble. It wasn't so good. So we said, first time he gets in the game and he starts running a fast break, get on his right shoulder, make him go left, and attack him. The first rebound of the game in the national championship game at Rutgers University, 9,000 people. He comes racing up the court. We push him left. As he crosses half court, we steal it from him. We go down and lay it in. So like this guy is supposed to be a great player. We've already said to him, hey, maybe on another night you're a great player. We're going to make you do stuff you're not so comfortable doing. And the whole night was like that for him. So I think scouting report, like going after the best player first, really important. And the second thing is the ball handler for the other team. Making the ball handler uncomfortable with things that you do, very, very important. Yes? Yeah, I think you don't want a steady dose. Question is, do you double team? I think a steady dose of doing one thing, people figure out. But we do this. This means during the game, when we have an opportunity, we're going to trap you off the dribble. So if it's the point guard, good player, situation in the game where he's got to make a play, they're bringing it down. We might trap him at the half-court line, or we might, as he's bringing it down the sideline, we might try to stop him and turn him and run a blindside double team. Double fist means we're going to trap first pass. So if Kobe Bryant comes off a screen in a game against us and he throws that first pass, if we see in scouting report that, guy comes down, he gives Kobe the ball, Kobe Bryant's got the ball, and this guy's going to set a screen, he's got his back to the play. That's a great opportunity to go screen because the guy doesn't realize there's a double team. Dean Smith is one of the great coaches to ever coach in the United States. And after timeouts at the end of almost all games, he would look to take the other team's play and he'd trap it and make you do something on your, on the fly that you weren't prepared to do. So, but it's a practice, like that thing we were doing today, the 4-on-3 closeout, is the beginning in getting kids comfortable with rotating, so that I just don't guard my man. And as I said earlier, in a scout report, if I have to guard Kobe Bryant and the point guard and somebody else, then I have to listen to the scout report. So a good thing at the high school and the youth level is to make a copy of the scout report to give the kids, and just make sure that the opponent doesn't get it. So that after the game, if they bring it with them, they tear it up and destroy it, so it doesn't, you're not helping the other team with what you get. And that's the only concern about making copies, is those idiots that you coach. It might get back to the other team and they would kind of see some things you want to do. But getting it on paper helps. Having a quiz on the day of game. My assistant coach will quiz the kids. If he doesn't like answers, kids lose their starting positions. And it's amazing, like we're talking about Kyle's got the relatives here. When Kyle Anderson was asked a question in high school about 5 positions, he could answer any one of the 5 positions. He knew everybody's job. And I moved him from position to position. So, a player that's a really good player can pretty much finish your sentences.
Should we think the offense to go coaching in college? That's something you were never advised to do?
No. I love high school. I love high school. For every Mike Krzyzewski that has that career in college, there's a lot of coaches that live all over the United States. It's not, and I don't know whether you can take it here. So I'm pretty warm and cuddly when I'm here, but I might have trouble with alums, and I might have trouble recruiting. It could be a problem for me. I'm pretty blunt about what I think certain things I say. I don't have no ulcers. If something's bothering me, I'm going to share it. So that probably wouldn't help me to be politically correct. Those guys have to be, they have to make everybody smile. I don't know if I can do that.
Well, we've an issue here with some of our teams where there might be a big difference in ability between, say, the strong teams in the league and the weaker teams in the league. You go out then and you win by 50 and you're considered a bad guy because you win by 50. Now, I'd see some of your games. I was at one of your games at one stage and you were winning a game by 30 or 40 points. And a kid goes for a tie ball, he doesn't call time out, and you went absolutely ballistic with him in a 40-point game. Do you need to keep that intensity when you're playing against weaker teams?
Well, you know what you do? It's a great question, because I think every kid on your team, I keep 16. I don't know what you're allowed to keep. New Jersey, my state, allows us to keep up to 16 on a team. I've kept as many as 18 on my team and dressed them. And then what we say to the kids, every day of practice, everybody practices. Like today, we had one group of 6 versus another group of 6. If we have 16, it's one group of 8 against another group of 8. They substitute all day long. We coach everybody. So if you're in a game and you're making mistakes that we practice, they, in their own crazy way, they want to be coached like everybody else is coached. So the kid doesn't even mind that he's getting yelled at, because he's watching that all the time with everybody else. So at the end of a game, he's being treated no better, no worse. He's being treated the same. So if he makes a mistake, and we've been working on it, that's good. The kids never want me to be silent, because if I have a kid on the team, and I just don't think he can do things, and I just am not coaching him, that silence is deafening, because that means I don't have a lot of confidence that he can make plays. So the kids always want to be yelled at, because they think there's some hope there that I think that they should be able to be better at things. And you know what you want to do? I tell a story. We beat DeMatha High School 2 years ago. I was over here in a clinic. We haven't lost a game in 2 years since I was here. Was that the reason?
We sorted out
between PJ and Huey and a couple of the other guys, I was able to go home and get some real information here, which made us that much better these last couple of years now. We've really turned the corner. But in getting back, things happen when you're coaching that you can't necessarily control, and you get games where things happen that are out of the ordinary. when you're playing a game during the season, you're always trying to get the team to play its best in every game. So in that particular, 2 years ago, we left here, we came back. We played a game during Christmas where one of my players left his uniform home in a tournament. But he brought all his video games. Okay, he had all his video games, didn't have his home uniform, so he didn't play in the game. And we go back to Jersey City from the trip, and we're saying, like, how do you not pack your uniform, your warm-up, your sneakers, your practice stuff, your practice sneakers, your jump rope, all of these things, and then if you have any room left, that stuff goes in. Well, the kid that did that ultimately was thrown off the team the following year. But during that season, we played DeMatha High School, and DeMatha was in the top 10 in the country, unbelievably talented team. We saw in our scouting, we scouted them 4 times, and they were 4 hours away in Washington, D.C., but we managed to see them 4 times. I can't say I personally drove, but that's good to be the head coach, because that's what in the pecking order, the lower guys went the furthest, and they brought film back for me, and we had played them the year before, but we saw them 4 times. They only used the video from the year before, okay? And in this new team we had Kyle Anderson and we had Miles Mack, 2 kids that transferred to our school after their Catholic school closed. So our team was good, and we were getting better and better the longer we were playing. Well, we played them, and we noticed in scouting that they didn't start very well in any game. They fell behind in every game. The game before we saw them, they were losing 16-0, and they wound up coming back to win in overtime. But to me, that was a good sign that they didn't start a game. It's like the fighter who goes out and he's not sweating, and he takes one on the chin. He's not ready at the beginning of the fight, and now he's fighting at a disadvantage. We wanted to go out and jump him, so we jumped him. It was like 18-4 in the first quarter, one of the top 10 teams in the whole country. And at the end of the first half, we were up 20-some points. We sat the kids down, and we kept saying to them, they're too good. We have to play this next 8-minute period, and whatever they do, fight them off, win this 8-minute period. So even though it was like we're up maybe 24 at halftime after a great start, we still had the kids believing that it's an 8-minute game. You're not looking at the score. You're not looking at the score. You're playing the time, and you're trying to outplay them again. So we went out there, and with 3 minutes left in the first quarter, my leading scorer, 3 minutes left in the third quarter, my leading scorer had 28 points. I didn't put him back in the game. He didn't play at all the rest of the game. He finished with 28. DeMatha High School finished with 25. We beat them by 50 points. It was the worst defeat in their school's history. We're playing them again this year on national TV, and they want to inflict some serious punishment on us this year. So it's up to us now to have the kids be prepared for every possession of the game. We played in the parochial state final last year against a team that beat us in a preseason last year in scrimmage. And then we played them for the parochial Catholic school state championship at Rutgers University on a Sunday. We lost to them in a scrimmage before the season, and the halftime score was 28-8. We were beating them. We completely dominated them defensively. They had 3 Division I players on the court. And so we said to the kids at halftime, all right, they're going to abandon their game plan. It's going to be a fast-paced game now. We're going to play a 16-minute game up 20 points. And I'm telling you now, you can go. I want you to be able to go, because they're going to press, they're going to play fast. So the third quarter, from it being 28-8, the third quarter became like 21-17. We won the quarter. Now that's significant in that they gave their best shot to try to change the game. We added 4 to the lead, and now in running like this, they were tired from trying to play that way and had gained no advantage. The game wound up in a state final. It was like a 30-point game, but 16 kids appeared in the game. So they all want to be coached. This is some long answer, but they all want to be coached. Everybody wants to be part of Scout Report. Everybody you face, you respect everyone, and you're always preparing, no matter what the score is. You're always preparing for the best team you can play. So you can be really happy in a close game against a good team. Played Huntington Prep from West Virginia last year. 6'11", 6'8", 6'7", 6'6", 6'3". We beat them 50-49. They had 10 baskets from three-point range. They scored 30 points of their 49 from outside the arc. And with all of that size, we held them to 19 points and somehow managed to beat them. It was like playing a college team. That's a one-point game. We were ecstatic that we were able to win the game. There's other games during the year where we could have won the game by more than 20 points and not been happy because we didn't see all the things we were looking for. So it's kind of weird how you do it, but you're always challenging them to play their best. And it might happen 3 times, 4 times during the year, but when it happens, you're trying to always duplicate that performance, if you can.
What type of offense do you run? What type of offense do you run?
Offense I change every year. I run offense. Offensive fundamentals that we teach are the same all the time, but the stuff we're going to run is going to be dictated by who we have. So we had a little size a couple of years ago, so we played more offense to get the ball inside. This coming year, we really don't have a lot of size, so our offense is going to be more perimeter oriented. But all the teaching of the fundamentals are the same in practice, except when we run our 5-on-5 stuff, we try to run more stuff for where our strengths are going to be. I have 2 veteran guards, so I'm going to run more stuff that they're involved in. And what I do is all summer we experiment. We're allowed in the United States to have the team together all summer. So we played about 40 games this summer. My assistant coach is coach, and I'm the eye in the sky. I'm the general manager. I sit there, I observe everything, I take my notes about what I see, and then I get some ideas about what I want to do. Then we're allowed to play in a fall league. So in the fall now, when we go back to school, every Wednesday, my team can play together. Our coaches can't coach them, so we get someone to sit on the bench, a former player, and he kind of rotates them. I don't bring the whole team. We'll bring 8 or 9 kids to the game so that they all can play in that game. I also don't want anybody to know who's going to be playing during the season. So when I'm not coaching at a season, they never know what's in my thoughts. So they're all continuing to work because they don't know how I'm going to play guys. And I'm not going to play guys the way my assistant coaches play guys. And then finally, when we get to the season, we start with stuff. And after 10 games, I get rid of stuff, drop stuff, and use other things. And then at the end of the year, when the state tournament starts, we've introduced things during the year that we're now going to use at the end of the year that we save for the big games. So if you scout us during the season, we put stuff in, but we try not to use it until towards the end of the season. Then we start using stuff that we know truly fits the team, and then we use it. So if we saw you play 5 times, and you're doing the same things, we think we have a pretty good angle on what you're going to do. If you're watching us and then you don't watch us late, we start using more of the stuff like special out-of-bounds plays underneath the basket, side plays, plays to end the quarter, plays coming out of a timeout. That stuff we save. So at the end of the year, we throw all that stuff in. And we love the fact that when we run this stuff, we score off these. And we always know that other bench, somebody's getting yelled at on that other bench, because they don't have those plays, because we saved those plays, or somebody didn't save the scout report from the end of the year, from the year before. But you got to put a lot of time with that, and a lot of the basketball with these kids then becomes from the neck up. Yes.
Hi, Joe.
Yes.
I'm just wondering about, I know you said your old school body, so I'm just looking at the analysis and maybe biomechanics to introduce it as a tool for making players better for shooting and free throw shooting.
Yeah, I think. Well, see, I'm fortunate. Like, how do you introduce all the stuff for skill development, and then correcting? Like, if kids have flaws in shots and stuff, what do? Well, they really need the time outside the season. The phrase that I've heard many times back in the States is teams are made from November to March. Individual players are made from April to October. So it's very important at the end of every season to get the kids that you coach and give them a plan, write everything down that they should be working on. And then we allow our gym to be open at a season. And a couple of guys that play for me, there's 2 gyms that are near us, and we leave the gym open. So when the kids get out of school, if a kid gets out of school, he lives in a rough neighborhood, or he lives in a great neighborhood and nobody plays, he can leave school, go to the gym, and he can shoot for an hour. He can dribble through the chairs. He can play some basketball with other kids, and they can stay for about an hour and a half, and then they go home. We'll keep the gym open like 4 days a week so they can do that. And then we want them to go to camps, and we give them all of these things for them to do individually, and then we tell them about all the kids that we've had who came into high school. And like this year's example is Tyshawn Taylor, who just signed with the Nets, just signed a 2-year contract. When he was a sophomore, he was our 5th or 6th best sophomore, and now he's going to play in the NBA. So he just kept working on his game. But if you see a kid occasionally after the season and you don't see them correcting the mistakes, you say something once or twice about it, then you unfortunately head towards another kid. And if I open a gym during the summer, I don't know how many of you all can get to the gym. We open up the door to the gym during the summer, 35 kids are in the gym trying to make the varsity team. And I have a JV team and freshman team. So that's why I'm keeping 16, and maybe the JV team has 16, and some of those other kids are maybe going to be on the freshman team. Or if kids are good and they have no uniforms, I keep them as managers, and they dress for practice every day, and they practice. My managers have made college teams after not making a high school team. I had a manager who's now helping with one of my teams. He only made the team, and I dressed him for games when he was a senior. He had a dunk in a game in college, and he never made his high school team. How cool is that? I've had a dunk in a game, about 6 foot tall. He had a breakaway dunk in a game and could never make the team in high school. He just wasn't good enough, but he kept working, played college basketball for 4 years, but just was not able to be a player in high school. Kids that are average, ordinary kids with extraordinary desire to get better, past kids who have some physical talent, but play other sports and don't play enough time with basketball, or have a car, or a steady girlfriend. You know, steady girlfriend's worse than being a gang member. Steady girlfriend worse than a gang. And for the girls, steady boyfriend worse than better being a gang member than having a steady boyfriend, because they spend too much time going to the movies and going to the mall and all that stuff, and they don't play enough, and they get a little soft. That's not politically correct enough. Huey, you gotta get Huey.
When you practice, you use every minute of the practice for activity, and the intensity is at the very top game pace.
Yeah, to practice is written out every single day in advance. I keep practices for years. I'm old school, so it's handwritten. I keep it in the pad. I make a copy and leave it at the table for the manager. I do not deviate from the practice. If it's a bad practice, on red letters across the top, I'll write bad. I'll go back home that night and study it and find that it was me. I was the reason why it was bad practice. When I was younger, I always blamed the kids. And then the next day, I'd run them to death. Now I'm more inclined to blame me and be a better teacher the next day. And find out that why it was bad was something that was hard I introduced too late in the day. If it's something you got to get better at, getting back on defense, boxing out, setting better screens, things like that, you should do those things early when the kids are fresh. And you should never do 2 hard things in a row. So if it's something like, getting back on defense, then the next thing should not be boxing out. Because if you're a player, do you want to work on getting back on defense and then boxing out? A coach who's a good friend of mine in the United States, one time I went to watch his college team practice. He spent 45 minutes teaching the guys how on a screen, the guy sets a screen, okay, and it's going to be a screen, a pick and roll, and I'm guarding this screen, and this guy's going to use the screen. How am I going to help him? How is he getting over the screen? We do that in 4 minutes. Some days walk through it. The next day might be faster, might be just the technique of, this is the screen, right? I'm here, I'm talking, telling him, screen left, screen left, screen left. As he's getting closer, I'm getting around behind, my foot against his foot. I'm reaching back to tag him. As he gets closer, I take a big step at him to slow him up. I make him go wide. I stay for a dribble and a half, a dribble and a half. And now as he's rolling, I get right back and I guard him, okay? I just gave it to you. Now, the guy has to get over the top of the screen, so I'm guarding this guy, and I hear him say, screen left, screen left. I gotta get a little closer to him now, so I can get over the screen, and I gotta do this. Get over the screen. 45 minutes of practice. I guess I have ADD. I guess when I was a kid, I was a daydreamer. I was looking to see what time school was going to be done. I folded my newspaper. I had it at my seat. I was doodling. I didn't have a phone, so I couldn't call somebody. I sat there and I read the entire newspaper, and I watched the kids. And after 45 minutes of doing one thing, you should never do anything more than 8 minutes. If you do something more than 8 minutes, you'll lose them. They're gone. If it's something hard, 8 minutes, you're definitely losing them at the 4-minute mark. I'm inclined to do something hard for 4 minutes. Then maybe one more time that day if we're really not good at it. But I'm inclined to do it for 4 minutes, slow motion, walk through, and then the next day faster, early, to get to see if they've picked it up rather than emphasize it. But the point was that after 45 minutes, they then went into shooting. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted to shoot. Now you know you've lost your team if in your shooting drill they're not interested. And I looked at them. Their shoulders were sloping. They lost their will to live. They had given up on life because they spent 45 minutes guarding a pick and roll. I mean, we could do the whole thing. We did the whole thing now. We can trap it, okay? Or this kid is really a bad shooter. We can show, and he can go behind sometimes in rare circumstances. Or the way we play, we watch you. If you have a good right hand, okay, we're going to hedge, push you out wide, get this guy over the top, get back and guard the guy. But if you don't have a good left, a couple of guys weren't great with their left hand today. We trap you going left. So we practice where you're going right, we're going to play it correctly, you go left, this guy just jumps you, and we double team them. Because in scouting report we saw that the guard wasn't so good in pick and roll. In the Tournament of Champions in our state last year, there was a terrific little guard from Atlantic City High School. In the public school championship game, he had 28 points. And what they did in the game was they set a high ball screen and they just let him go. And we played against him, and he had 2 points, and he got a basket at the end of the game, a running bank shot at the very end of the game to finish with 4 points. Because when we saw him go left, he wasn't so good, so we trapped him. And we made him go left more than go right, and when he went right, we got out there early. The guy who was setting the screen wasn't a good offensive player, so our guy guarding the screen stayed a little longer than usual. The other guys dropped in a little bit. We stayed on the shooters, and the player who dominated the last game looked like he couldn't even get a uniform for us because we just took away, what they do. It always gets back to, I think, fundamentals of scout report, how hard you work, and the thing today is the speed that you make the kids play. They haven't been playing regularly. They're spread out all over the place. My guys home right now are sharper than this because they're closer. They've been around. We went away to camp this week, and they just finished playing all those games. I brought my strength coach up. He'd come up for a day. He worked the kids out for a day while we're in the Pocono Mountains. They played 2 games a day. They get up at 7 o'clock and did an hour of fundamentals. Went and had their breakfast. They did an hour and a half of station work. They had a morning game. They had a lecture with a college coach or a high school coach in the afternoon. They had a team practice, and they had another game at night. That was a week off from the rest of the stuff they do. Okay? But why are we good? Wow. We know what we're doing, and we work awful hard at it. And like the little details, we didn't shoot enough left-handed layups today. We have to shoot more. You got to shoot more left-handed layups. At camp this week, I had 270 kids at basketball camp, my own kids included. Every basket you made during the week at camp was worth an extra point if you used your weak hand. So every left-handed layup is worth 3 points. One game ended during the week where a team was down 4. The coach ran a play to try to get a 3-point shot up, and my junior point guard shot a left-handed 3 from the top of the circle, hit back rim and came out. He nearly tied a game with a left-handed 3. Now, that's tremendous that he actually would be thinking that, that is something you can do. And one of the young kids watching the game was sitting there with me and said, Coach, he shot that ball with good form. That almost looked like he was left-handed. But we do a lot of stuff. There's days when we'll say to the kids, all right, warm up to start the day. 5 minutes to start the day. Nothing but shoot the ball with your weak hand to make the kid get better at doing that. And you tell them what you tell the kids about the opponent. You tell the kids about themselves. I'm doing a scout report on you today, John. Well, John, you can only shoot the ball from 15 feet. You don't like to dribble the ball with your left hand. When you get the ball near the basket, like all of these young big kids, I get it near the basket, I only use this shoulder. I always turn this way. I don't turn there. So you got to start using this shoulder. You tell them that stuff, and then watch to see if they're going to practice it. A kid gets better at things. The kid he's working at it. Somebody you keep telling, I don't know how you all are as coaches, but I don't like repeating myself. I'm not so good at that. If it's individual skills and I'm telling the kid, you got to get out, you got to work on stuff, and you're not doing it, I might be putting a little more time towards another kid.
Is there 3 or 4 specific drills you do?
That's the last question, guys.
Even as your practice stuff every day?
Yeah, I'm trying to be a drill maniac, where I have, I never have pretty much the same order of practice. I might use a warm-up drill to start, like that fire. I like using fire and get up to 3 or 4 basketballs because you can't hide. When the 4 balls are going and everybody's on the court, there's no place to hide. You got to be functioning. So I want things early that are communication. What I do is I have a meeting right away beginning practice for 30 seconds, and I try to pump the troops up. And then I know as a player, I always think of that college practice with the 45 minutes or someone who talks too long in practice. We don't talk much. Like I put down in the practice 4 minutes for a drill. I have 5 minutes written on the paper. So we put 4 on the clock. That gives me maybe 30 seconds in the beginning, and then the time at the end for them all to shoot their free throw, go on to the next drill. And I think we're able to stay within that. But I think changing every day. The order, even if there's good drills, the same order, those guys start cheating. They start cheating you. So you change the order of drills, change the drills, and the kids, I don't want the kid to become good at a drill. I want him to become good at the skill of that drill. So when a kid starts to be good at your one box out drill, then maybe you get to the next box out drill now, so that you're always a master. You know what they're, you know human nature here, and the harder things, as I said, you got to get them in early, and if it isn't going well, you know why it's going well. It's hard and it's defense, but you can't ignore those things because they can come back and be something that can hurt you. If you run the exact same order, same practice every day, you can't. It's going to settle a little bit on you. You know.
Sorry, Jim. Last question.
What is your main defense? Do you change up your defense?
We play man, Jim, about 80% of the time, or even maybe a little more than 80%. But I have something else that we're ready to use. Like, we'll use some gimmicks during the game. Like, come out of timeout against Kobe Bryant and play a 4-man zone, the boxing one, and play 1 man on him. But we play, this is dribble traps during the game, and this is pass traps. So we mix that in. We use a little bit of zone press on foul shots, so that, on a made foul shot, you can inbound it and run. People want to get it in and go. We'll play like a 2-2-1 press on a team that wants to run, so they can't run. They got to push it back, and now we took away something they wanted to do. And then we started playing 2 years ago. I've played a lot of 1-3-1 over the years because it's aggressive. When we play zone, we fall asleep. I'm a terrible zone coach. When we start to play zone, if it's not aggressive, we're just kind of standing around. Then it affects us at the other end of the court, and we're doing you a favor when we play zone. And then we saw the zone called the amoeba, which is a 1-1-3. And we start off by picking up the other team's guard full court. We put our other guard right here in the middle of the court, and the other three, like a 2-3 zone, are back there. And it comes back, and it's really aggressive, and we play it. And because we're picking it up, people don't even know sometimes we're in zone, and it keeps our guys going. So it's been a great zone to use. You can get information on it from Fresno. Boyd Grant he's the founder of the zone. Jerry Tarkanian used to use it, and I got a video from somebody that I've got, but it really fit us because it was good for a small team and an aggressive team, and we play it to start a second half. And we've done it a couple times lately. I believe at the end of the year in the state tournament, you can hide stuff. Like somebody watches you during the season, you're playing all man-to-man, and now in a tournament you do something else. But it's when you do it. It might be the last 4 minutes of a half where they don't have time, or you save it, you don't use it till the second half. That St. Pat's Elizabeth, great team. We played man-to-man until we got up 7 in the fourth quarter. And we said to the kids, if we could get ever up like 5 or more, we're going to play it. We don't think they'll recognize. We're going to get a couple of quick shots. As long as we block out, we're going to get some fast break off it. Sure enough, it's 7 points in the fourth quarter. We go to it, and we go on a run, and we wind up winning the game by, like 15 points with a big fourth quarter. So it's like 17 points, something like that. So it turned out to be very good. But if you show somebody early, they have a chance to adjust to it. If they do adjust, get out of it and go back to the man. And I think that's good.
I've been told that your holiday starts at 1 o'clock today. I no more basketball.
Mrs. Hurley just gave an indication that